Hey, 42 here. The royal family are famously long-lived. Her Majesty looks fantastic for 93 and is still almost as active in her duties as ever. Philip will be 100 in under 2 years' time and he's still relatively sprightly. In fact, he's the third longest lived British royal ever, only surpassed by the Queen Mother who lived to 101 and Alice who lived to 102. Considering the average life expectancy in the UK is 80 years, that's not bad going. Sure, thousands of us normal people regularly achieve these ages and much older. So what's the big deal? Well, that's true, but for such a large majority of the same family to consistently reach old age is extremely rare, and it's not just the current generation. The British royal family has always exceeded the average population's lifespan throughout history. Why? Is there perhaps something in the royal blood after all? Excluding executions and murders, between the 16th and 18th centuries, the Habsburgs had an average lifespan of roughly 55 years. The French monarchy had an average of 51 years. Yet between the same period, the English and then British monarchy, it switched over in 1707, had an impressive average lifespan of 63 years. And this was a time when bleeding to balance a person's humours was still the most frequently used remedy by physicians. What was so special about the British monarchy? Well, historically, there is no obvious reason why the British monarchy should have achieved higher average lifespans than their French and Austrian counterparts. They lived very similar, luxurious lifestyles and all had access to the very same medical treatments, if you could even call them treatments. The sample sizes are very small here. These averages are each derived from less than 10 total monarchs per monarchy. So the most likely answer is that the 16th and 18th century British monarchs just got lucky. It's an anomaly. One thing is clear though. Historically, monarchs lived longer than pretty much everyone else. The average lifespan in England between the 16th and 18th centuries was roughly 40 years, which is significantly lower than the 63 years achieved by royalty. There are two primary reasons for this disparity. Firstly, only a king ate like a king. The variety and volume of food available to an English monarch was unrivaled by any other citizen. Even the wealthiest aristocracy in the land did not eat as well as the king. Surprisingly, with a couple of notable exceptions, very few English monarchs abused this food overload to gorge themselves into obesity. What they did get out of it, however, was a wide assortment of vitamins, fibre and protein that the vast majority of other people could only dream of consuming, not that they were consciously aware of the health benefits anyway. The second quality of an English monarch that helped them survive longer was the very fact that they rarely came into contact with other people. Kings purposely kept a small circle of confidants. This kept their secrets better contained and reduced the likelihood of assassination attempts, but more pertinently meant less exposure to pathogens. The closest contact they had within this circle was with their Groom of the Stool, whose sole job was to wipe their arse. But for longevity, keeping a small social circle is a boon. By not coming into contact with those god-awful peasants roaming about one's country, a monarch vastly reduced the likelihood of contracting disease, which was persistently rife. It all goes without saying that the hygiene standards were significantly higher inside a royal palace than the average townhouse or village tavern. For example, it was common for English inns in the Middle Ages to lay down an interior floor of dung covered with straw. Fast forwarding a few hundred years, how does one explain the longevity of the current generation of British royalty? After all, today, in developed nations, the hygiene gap between the poorest in society and the richest is almost non-existent. Perhaps a closer look at the life inside the households and lifestyle of the various members of the royal family can illuminate the cause of their vitality. For a start, physical exercise is strongly encouraged in the palace. From a young age, royal aides and their family instill impressionable young royals with a love for the countryside and sports such as horse riding, polo, shooting and skiing. Prince Philip has always been praised for his ferociously active lifestyle. He has always been a lover of polo but had to retire at 50. He kept up his horse riding though until only very recently. The entire royal family enjoys frequent walks throughout their various, generously proportioned lands. When the Queen takes her annual summer holiday to Balmoral in Scotland, she reportedly enjoys a rather lengthy stroll through the grounds every morning. Considering she has a bagpiper playing outside her bedroom window at 9 AM every morning, I'm not bloody surprised. She probably goes for a walk to find him and kill him. Not only do they all get frequent exercise, but they all have access to the best medical care in the world. The royal family all have regular health screenings carried out by London's leading private physicians. These screenings include prostate checks for men, breast examinations and mammograms for women, diabetes tests, blood tests, and general health checks for blood pressure, cholesterol, and other warning signals. Whilst these annual checks may seem insignificant to you and I, they are actually a significant contributing factor to the longevity of the royals. Because many of the world's biggest killers, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, are all somewhat preventable or manageable if the warning signs are detected early enough. For example, it's thought that 50 to 80% of deaths from cardiovascular disease are preventable. Annual health screenings really can significantly extend your life. But the unfortunate truth is that a tiny percentage of the population goes for an annual checkup, usually because of the associated costs. Although the NHS in Britain offers a free health check every 5 years for anyone aged 40 to 74, yet only 44% of people take up this offer. The Queen has a personal doctor who holds the official title, Physician to the Queen, to deal with small snivels and mild illness. Medical assistance is never more than a whisper away. While she is on overseas tours, a senior Royal Navy physician accompanies her who is granted the honorary title Medical Officer to the Queen. And when the royals do get sick, well, they don't simply pop along to the local NHS hospital and get put on a 3-month waiting list. You perhaps wouldn't realise walking past its plain entrance, but down this unassuming Marylebone Street in central London is the most exclusive hospital in Britain, King Edward VII's Hospital. Princess Margaret died within these walls. The Queen had knee surgery here. Prince Philip recently had a knee operation here, and it has treated countless other royals. You can guarantee if a royal falls ill, this is probably where they'll be whisked off to. The hospital claims at least 4 nurses per patient at all times, industry-leading surgeons and cutting-edge medical equipment. It also has a very well-stocked library for patients to browse and one of London's few hydrotherapy pools. Generally, the royals are known to eat a varied and balanced diet consisting of exceptionally high-quality ingredients and almost never eat processed food. But the Queen takes healthy eating more seriously than perhaps any other family member. She has a strict no-starch rule. When eating on her own, she never eats bread, potatoes, rice or pasta with lunch or dinner. It is well known that she absolutely adores fresh fish and eats it almost every single day without fail. Her typical daily lunch is grilled fish served with wilted spinach or grilled courgettes. In the evenings, she is served either venison, beef, pheasant or salmon, all of which is farmed, shot or caught on her own lands, usually at Balmoral or Sandringham. Most of the time, that meat is cooked in a Gaelic sauce made from whiskey, cream and mushrooms. It's also reported that one of her favourite meals is duck à l'orange. The Queen may stay away from starches at lunch and dinner time, but she is not frightened of a bit of cake. When it comes to sweet treats, Her Majesty is fully committed. She starts every morning with a pre-breakfast pot of Earl Grey and a few biscuits. She likes McVitie's rich tea. And she takes afternoon tea every single day. Every afternoon she has a selection of finger sandwiches containing cucumber, egg and mayonnaise, ham and mustard or smoked salmon and cream cheese. Then she has scones, followed by a selection of cakes, such as honey and cream, ginger, and fruit. Her Majesty the Queen is also rather fond of a daily dose of alcohol. Every day, before lunch, she enjoys a glass of gin mixed with a French sweet wine called Dubonnet. And every night she has a glass of champagne and some chocolates before bed. Yes, that's right. What the royals eat and their active lifestyle certainly play a huge part in their longevity. Obviously, gin and champagne is the answer. But they may also be benefiting from very healthy genetics. It used to be scientific consensus that genetics alone was responsible for roughly 30% of a person's lifespan. However, recent research estimates it to be more like 7%. So, for everyone, 7% of how long you live, which is no small amount, can be attributed solely to their DNA. So if your parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents have a record of living well into old age and avoiding age-related illnesses such as stroke and dementia, then you too will have a small lifespan boost compared to your peers. Thanks for watching. I've recently launched my first book. It's called Stick a Flock in It, 1,000 Years of Bizarre History from Britain and Beyond. If you'd like to get your hands on a first edition signed copy, then head on over to Unbound Publishing, the link's in the description, and pledge today. Thank you.